This podcast mini-series is kindly sponsored by Ellucian. Ellucian combines higher education expertise, focused innovation, and deep partnership to help universities navigate digital transformation. Serving more than 2,900 higher education institutions worldwide, Ellucian is your trusted partner for driving institution-wide success. Visit Ellucian.com to discover the complete integrated Ellucian software as a service platform and how it seamlessly connects people, processes, and applications across your institution. I'm Susanna Marsden, and welcome to Job Shadowing HE Managing Change mini-series, sponsored by Ellucian. Each episode hears from guests about change initiatives happening in their organisation, their role within that, and some personal reflections on working in a change environment. My guest in this episode is Krissi Sanft, Managing Director of Porter Solutions, a boutique consultancy firm focused on transformation and change, including support for higher education. In this episode, Krissi shares more about Porter Solutions, reflects upon the similarities and differences in managing change in HE compared with other sectors, discusses how to keep people front and centre within the transformation process, and what steps can be taken to mitigate some of the challenges that accompany change. Krissi, welcome to the podcast and thank you for joining me today on this mini-series. Let's start with a bit about your organisation. You're Managing Director of Porter Solutions. Can you tell us some more about the company and in particular its work in supporting change in the higher education sector?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Susanna. So Porter Solutions is a boutique consultancy. We're focused on transformation and change. And we are now the Ellucian strategic partner for change management for the UK and Ireland. So we support their banner SaaS implementation projects. But we also provide wider transformation services across other sectors as well. But specifically for higher education, we provide change management services, and we can also provide enterprise architecture and data architecture services to support technology projects if and when needed. And just on top of that, we also have a recruitment arm, and we can help organisations find the right people for their projects and teams.
And looking at your career path so far, you've worked in many different sectors, and increasingly your focus has been on transformation and change, right the way through to setting up Porter Solutions in 2021. What would you say have been the pivotal moments in that career journey that have confirmed that leading and supporting other people in change is what you want to do?
Yeah, I have had quite a wide and big breadth of experience in transformation and change. I started as a civil servant in the Housing Directorate, leading on large programs, which I found really interesting because it's all about people. It's all about public realm, housing growth, things that help people in their lives. I learned a little bit about program and project management there, but then I moved from there into Big Four consulting, which I started with a focus on procurement, and then I moved into project and program management, which is where my career in change and transformation really started. During my time at PwC, I worked across many sectors and programs of change, and I guess I really earned my stripes there and learned a lot about how successful programs are set up and run. And then from there, I moved out into industry and led many programs, global transformations. I built portfolio capabilities and value management capabilities. And again, worked across many different sectors, including media and publishing, retail, financial sector, and also education. And actually, I kept coming back to education sector throughout my career. And I ended up working as a director of transformation in an assessment organisation, building digital solutions for English and music and drama assessments, which was really interesting and exciting. And also led work implementing student information systems, which is what led me to building the relationship with Ellucian. But what has tied all of my work together over the years is it's always been around large-scale strategic change. And I really love the people side and helping people to build better working environments and helping organisations to succeed. And it's the people side that really interests me and gives my work real meaning. So that's that's why I've really continued to develop my career in change management.
And so from what you said there, clearly you've led or enabled transformation work in many organisations, many big organisations. And as you say, it's included periods of time working in education. You've mentioned the work that you've done in the assessment centre. You were head of projects and programmes at Tribal Group. And obviously you've been supporting higher education institutions since setting up Portair Solutions as part of the portfolio of work that you do. Managing change in any organisation is hard, but many colleagues would say that it's particularly hard in higher education. From your experience, what would you say are the similarities and differences in managing change in HE compared with the other sectors?
Yeah, I'd say the objectives around transformation, how we lead it, how we go about planning strategically, setting up and delivering digital transformation are very similar across sectors. And really those objectives are focused on a better digital experience for our customers. That's always at the heart of transformation and where we start. But wider than that, better security, better efficiencies that enable us to then focus our finite resources on the areas that really differentiate us. Better customer support and better data-driven decision-making across the business. They're also really critical drivers for digital transformation. And I think organizations are constantly managing technical debt and removing legacy systems in favor of more up-to-date SaaS solutions. Running technology in-house is very difficult and costly, and modern technology with the proper up-to-date integration infrastructure can enable you to leverage your data better and build really good data culture across organizations. And we find that the organizations that are achieving that are pulling ahead of the competition. I think key differences that many private sector organizations are driven by is competition. They have to stay ahead of their competitors. They will lose customers if their technology and their organization isn't geared up to provide better customer experiences. And technology now is at the heart of customer experience, as we know. And in higher education, I think we're still seeing some of the key drivers being dealing with burning platforms or legacy systems that are really at end of life. And that tends to be what pushes higher education organizations into taking a step into their digital journey. And their competitive edge has been more focused on the education side of their products and offerings. But increasingly, student expectations are starting to drive change, and institutions do need to start competing on all fronts. And educational offerings are key to that, but so is digital experience, access to digital services, less logins. We know that when we talk to students, they sometimes have up to 5 or 6 different logins to access their on-site services. We need to bring that down. And real-time data for their teams is also really core to keeping ahead in the sector now. And perhaps even controversially, running organizations in a more efficient way so that precious resources can be used to differentiate. And it can feel counterintuitive, but key to efficiencies is standardization. And sometimes we can feel like standardizing actually reduces our competitive edge or our differentiation. But when we standardize, we can run more efficiently, and then we can put our efforts into the areas that really do differentiate us, like campus experiences, access to services, real-time access to financial information and things like this. And also all of the things that we see in the surveys that differentiate us in terms of student events and things like that. So standardization is also, it should be a key driver for transformational change in universities.
The environment for higher education is challenging. I mean, you mentioned there about changing students' needs, the needs for more digital experiences. There are changing markets, significant financial and political pressures, and the challenges and opportunities that do come from technology. You've mentioned some of those, but also the impact of AI as well. Doing some research on you before today, I know that you focus on the importance of institutions having what you call an adaptive strategy. Can you say some more about that, and also how it differs from traditional approaches to strategic change?
We say this all the time now in programs and change, but we now know that change is a constant. Change isn't something that we do once and then we're in the new world and off we go. there's always a portfolio of change initiatives in any organization now. And as you say, the environment is always changing along with expectations of digital experience and services. And it is an expectation of life now. And to be able to log onto a system, complete our applications, share validation information, and see results online, access learning content, all of it is expected in one place. And organizations need to learn to respond quickly to those ongoing expectation changes. New technology is going to be entering the education sector over the next decade. And so we need to be able to adapt to what's available and how our students want to work with us. So being adaptive in our goals and our ambitions and what we focus on when is really key to keeping up. So our strategies have to have a North Star or a strategic direction, but on an annual basis or a periodical basis, we need to be able to change our objectives to be able to deliver on that strategy and change and be adaptive in the way that we do that according to the market, our competition, regulation. There's so many things that make us need to continue to reinvent. To being flexible in where we put our focus, how we use our finite resources, and being open to changing those pathways and having resilience in the face of that directional change is a capability that will really set institutions apart. And we know in the private sector, for example, organizations with adaptive strategies will grow 3 times quicker than those that don't have them. So it is a key differentiator to be able to continue to adapt and change and respond to the needs of both our customers and other areas, drivers in the market.
A topic that's come up in nearly all the episodes of this mini-series is that while an organisation might be changing its, academic activities, its processes, its supporting systems, its organisational structures, whatever it is, whatever the strategy is, successful change is actually about people, their vision, their ideas, their engagement, empowerment, resilience. And ultimately, it's about people doing things in a different way. In moving through a change or transformation process, what would you say is needed to make sure that people remain front and centre?
Such a great question. And it's really easy to get caught up in the technical side of change. Banner SaaS projects, for example, it is a large program of work to implement the technology. But if we get too focused on that side, we forget that this is actually a business change program. And when we turn the perspective to the people, there's a whole different set of activities that emerge that need to be carried out to ensure that everyone impacted is ready for the new world. Change projects fail when we push new technology or ways of working onto people without including them in the designing of these new ways of working. In general, people do want what is best for the organisation and for their customers, in this case, students. If we share with them honestly the real reason why we're doing something, they do understand and they do want to help. So true engagement means having them included in the work itself so that they can also own the changes and have a hand in designing them. And of course, there's principles to follow. So, for example, in SaaS implementations, low levels of configuration is really key to success. But having the people involved in the project enables them to see why that's important. And then they start to really own those whys. And with proper engagement, I've seen real resistors become the biggest and most powerful advocates for change. And the only way you can do that is by working with them in partnership, listening to people. How are they feeling? What do they see as the real hurdles to success? That's something that leaders in change need to get comfortable with.
And picking up on that a bit more, I mean, people do find change challenging for all sorts of reasons. And you mentioned resistance there, and I'm interested to pick up that a bit further. People may have resistance to the idea of change, but it can also be the case that they buy into the principle, but then become resistant to what comes next. What would you say, in your experience, are the more, unexpected or unanticipated reasons as to why someone may hold back? And how might institutions go about responding to that part of the change process?
Yeah, there's so many different reasons why we see resistance. I'd say the most important part of this is making sure that you're not afraid to get to the root cause of where the resistance is coming from. And that means allowing people to feel safe to explain why they are worried. Generally, it's fear-based. It can be that people are afraid that significant change could ultimately mean lowering their job security. And the question they'll have is, will some jobs simply not be needed when the change is complete? And we always say this is a question that we urge leaders to address early, because if there is an impact to people's roles and jobs, the earlier we share that with them and properly and correctly support them through that journey, which is a difficult journey, but I've seen it done so badly and I've seen it done so very well, that you can actually manage that effectively. It can also be a fear of having to do something differently and having to learn a new system or a new way of working. And not everybody feels confident about adopting new technologies, but there's a nervousness to admit that. I'm afraid of training on this new technology. I'm not technical. I don't really, I've done my job this way for 20 years and I'm really confident in the way I do it. We need to allow people to feel safe to say that and not be judged in any way, because we can be afraid of learning new technologies. So proper training, giving people time to learn at their own pace is really, really important. And encouraging them. We know you can do this. We have real faith in you. We are confident in you as a team and as an individual to be able to do this. Let me help you. Let us help you. Resistance can come from fear of losing autonomy. Fear of standardization can lead to feeling less important in a job or feeling like their job is de-skilled in some way. And in those cases, it's really important that we enable people to take on more and new challenges that helps them to continue to differentiate and build their skill sets. If we manage to standardize something through technology, let's enable them to go and differentiate in a different way and add real value to the organization in another way. But we have to listen. And again, it comes back to listening to these worries and concerns, making it normal to talk about them and encouraging people to open up and share their reasons for resistance without judgment, without any sort of pressure, in safe spaces. And only then can we understand the root cause of the resistance and address it correctly. Working with people to talk about their worries, trying to help them feel more comfortable with what's coming. In some cases, for them, the positives actually do outweigh the negatives. So if we show them the positive side of the weighing scale, they can start to feel more comfortable, because, we're all human and we go for the worry first, where we all have fear, and, putting yourself in their shoes is really important. But key to resistance, once again, is listening, working together. And again, every worry is valid and has merit.
Across your career so far, you've seen lots of change in many sectors, and you'll have come across both success and failure. Where that failure happens, what would you say most commonly goes wrong, and what do institutions need to put in place to avoid that happening?
Yeah, failure can happen for a lot of different reasons. Again, root cause is really key, because we can quickly jump to assumptions about what the key risks are on our piece of work, and really understanding what the real risks are and mitigating those is really key. So obviously great risk and issue management. But if an organization isn't aligned at the leadership level, it can be very difficult to lead successful strategic change. And this is really, we would call this a critical success factor for any change program. I've seen leadership alignment in place and not in place. And if it's not in place, it is extremely difficult to have a successful outcome. But more than that, the leadership team needs to be clear on why they are doing the work, take an active role in leading that work, and by owning and sharing the key messages across the organization, and being resilient to the resistance, because they will get very, very influential resistance from their management layers sometimes. But that senior leadership role cannot be sort of underplayed in the success of a large strategic change program. Good change management, obviously, is critical to success. Everything that we've talked about already, about listening to people, working with people, and engaging the right people at the right times. And if we don't work with our people in the right way, we might implement the technology, but we'll fail to leverage the benefits properly. So we need to convert all of our influential people to advocates so that the new ways of working are properly adopted and supported. I've seen plenty of technology go in and then be ignored. And in fact, we've worked with a client recently to go back to some tools that have been embedded in a team to help them to increase the usage. And without usage, you can't feed back and you can't improve them, and you can't get that flywheel effect of continually understanding people's technical needs in their roles. Taking the opportunity to standardize across teams. So we can be implementing a piece of technology, but if we're not careful, we can fail to really deliver the parts of the project that achieve the standardization or achieve the efficiencies. And so looking at organization change, looking at actual role changes, looking at whether we have an opportunity to mature our technology teams or build architecture for the future that helps us to uphold new principles and avoid us from falling into building more technical debt down the line is really important. And you could call that a type of failure to not do that work alongside your technology project as well. And having a roadmap to put power back in the hands of IT teams is really key for universities. I think historically, IT teams have sort of carried out what's been requested of them by various areas of the university, but being able to give them a strategy to be able to test suggestions against and say, yes, we should be doing this, or no, we shouldn't be doing this, enables you to really continue to deliver maturity across your technology architecture. And that's really a key part of success. And without doing that, we fall back into building difficult legacy systems down the line.
And in terms of mitigating some of those failures and picking up on some of the success that you've just talked about there, can you give us some examples of the sorts of support that you're providing institutions at the moment to make sure that change is a success?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we mitigate risks associated with change through high levels of engagement with your teams, implementing benefits management strategies and understanding exactly what the program of work is seeking to achieve so we can make sure that we can measure that. Running detailed impact assessments so we know who is impacted when, how, and what kind of support that they need to move through the change effectively. We also look at wider stakeholder engagement and management, including leadership alignment and cultural change strategies. And then through a training needs analysis, we can help you to plan the needed training that is required and work with you to build a change champion network and help to train them so that they can support your teams effectively through the program and help to secure your objectives. We can also help you leverage your strategic project to get wider benefits, such as assessing organizational change opportunities, building technology roadmaps, and ensuring that you leverage data opportunities as part of the work as well.
Looking into the medium term, what would you say are the opportunities and challenges for the HE sector in responding to change and remaining at the forefront of their work?
Yeah, I think the education sector is going to be a very exciting place over the coming decade. And most institutions are only just now starting to embark on their real sort of strategic digital transformation journeys, which is both exciting, brave, very brave, and scary because it's a new world. I think the strategic change for higher education institutions has come at a very significant time with the introduction of AI capability across many technology platforms. And there is a huge investment planned for technology in this sector over that period, over that next decade. And I think we'll see a transformation in the way our students are supported through their learning journeys. And really, we have to remember that's at the heart of this. You know, how can we make sure that we leverage these transformations in order to support a better student experience? But as you say, there's going to be challenges, and all of this opportunity brings higher levels of competition in the market. I think we'll start to see universities truly behaving like businesses and thinking as a more competitive organization, and looking at how they can provide unique student experiences and transforming the way they do things to really set themselves apart in the market. I think that's a huge mindset shift, which is interesting. And in fact, I wonder whether becoming more competitive is going to be key to survival for some institutions in the coming years. And change will be at the heart of how they do that and how they thrive through that medium-term period.
And finishing up our conversation today, Krissi, you've clearly got extensive experience. We've heard today a lot of the experience that you've had. What advice would you give to colleagues looking to gear their career focus into managing or leading change?
I truly believe that we all need to become better change agents or agents of change. I don't think it matters what role you're in right now. You can be a better change advocate. You can support others through their change journeys. You can support colleagues to access the information they need if they're feeling uncertain about what's happening. There's also many great resources out there now. There's a lot of different approaches to change, and you can find something that works for you or suits you. But also get involved with the projects taking place in your business. I don't think there's any organization that doesn't have a portfolio of change programs going on. Find out if you can support those, get involved. Most of the large scale transformations or programs will employ a change champion network that you can be part of. You can be a champion in your area of the business. I know we do that for the banner projects. And in fact, when we do a banner project, we build a change champion network, and we actually provide them, depending on how much time they have, we will provide them with a 1 or 2 day change management training program so that they actually come out as change professionals on the other side. So the more people that can say yes to change management training or change management support or building their skills, I think the better for any business. And when opportunities arise to take part in things like that, take them and become a change leader in your business.
Krissi, it's been great talking to you today. Thanks so much for letting me shadow you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Job Shadowing HE. The podcast was written and presented by Susanna Marsden, audio production and music by me, Rodri Marsden. More information about this podcast and previous episodes can be found at jobshadowinghe.com.